Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Paws in Pursuit podcast with your host Summer Clark. So today we have a very exciting guest episode. I'm going to be speaking to Nicola Wildman of Wild Paws Agility, all about event prep and preparing for major events such as AWC that Nicola has coming up in only a few weeks' time now, so that's super exciting. But before we get into that, I'm going to bring you my weekly recap. Now, I would just like to take a minute to introduce you guys to the podcast sponsor, Huel. So here I have one of the ready to drink Huel meals, the berry flavour. Huel ready to drink is a meal in a bottle with over 20 grams of protein. It really is the perfect meal for when you are on the go. You don't need to sacrifice convenience or nutrition, you can have both with ready to drink. Each serving has 26 vitamins and minerals. This means every bottle of ready to drink has 175 health benefits. It is made from natural ingredients such as coconut, sunflower seeds, tapioca, pea protein, flax seeds and hemp seed protein. Every meal is vegan and it has no gluten, no palm oil, no GMO, no lactose and no animal products whatsoever. It comes in 8 delicious flavours including iced coffee caramel and strawberries and cream, as well as the classics like vanilla, chocolate and banana. It is absolutely delicious and just tastes like a milkshake. It is widely sold in supermarkets, petrol stations and corner shops around the UK, and it can be conveniently purchased online. I found out about Huel because I was looking for a product that would give me all the nutrients that I need while travelling to events and staying over at competitions and training events. So when it's time to refuel and have a meal, I can just drink a ready to drink Huel product and get all my nutrients quickly, easily and without cooking. It's perfect when I don't have the time or the facilities to cook. For example, when I'm camping at a competition, I'm going to be drinking at least one a day at KCI and Dogs in Need. If you're super busy just like me, then you really don't want to miss out. You can easily and conveniently shop ready to drink from Huel at the link uk.huel.com/paws. I hugely appreciate anyone and everyone that uses my link as it helps keep this podcast running, and every sale through that link helps keep my podcast going. Buying through my link also gets you a free t-shirt which will be auto applied at the checkout. If you subscribe to a Huel order, you can save 10%. You can choose how often your subscription comes, for example every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, etc. And these are super easy to manage on the website and you can edit whenever you like. uk.huel.com/paws. So, since I last spoke to you, I had my first week at my brand new job. I am social media executive at InfluWork. I did tell you that in the last episode and I also posted it on socials, so dream job, love it. Still just part-time at the moment, you know, it's a pretty new company, but I've had my first week and I'm absolutely loving it so far and I've only just got started, so that is really cool. That is pretty much all that happened in the week that's different to normal, I suppose. Well, it is my new normal, I suppose. And then at the weekend just gone, we were at, where were we? Southam. Comment down below how you say that. I think it's Southam, but I never know. Maybe I have a weird northern accent. But yeah, we were there. I did a post about it yesterday, so that'll be Sunday, which you've probably seen by now, but it wasn't our best show results-wise. I'm very much trying to adopt a new mindset around running Arrow. So now he's grade 7. I'm trying to use the sort of smaller normal shows with just your normal gradey classes, as in no qualifiers or anything like that, to really push him and myself and test our skills. And obviously that's risking going wrong. And that's what's happening. So obviously fewer clears from Arrow and obviously more wild moments as well, because I'm pushing him. He's getting more excited, he's more aroused, he's going to listen less because he's so highly strung. So, you know, our consistency is wavering due to that, which doesn't feel great, but at the same time I'm pushing through because I think this approach will sort of help us in the long run. You know, he's got all these cool skills that I know he can do at training, but I've been like choosing safer options and stuff in competition because I'm like, oh, he can do that training, but he won't do it in competition. So I haven't been trying, and then I try, and because I've never made him do it in competition, you know, he doesn't do it in competition. So if I don't practice those things in competition and go wrong a few times to practice that, how am I supposed to expect him to ever do those in competition? And we're going to need those things in competition to reach our next goal. So champ, you know, I've got to push him and get the most out of him to achieve the things I want to achieve next with him now at grade 7. So I've got to start doing that, and I've got to start getting us both comfortable with doing those tricky bits in the ring. But obviously as it's new, it's a different approach to handling and running for both of us, so we're making a few more mistakes. But he did do some really cool things. I put a little compilation video up on socials, go check those out. He did do some really nice bits. So he's threadle wrapping in the ring really nicely. Contacts were not great because there were literally every single contact we had, except one, and even this was a slight angle, was like a proper 90-degree or more turn off a dog walker and a seesaw. And I haven't trained it, well, I'm training his turns in the garden, but I don't have the room to do it on an actual dog walk in the garden. So I can't do that until I get to a venue. Do you know what I mean? So it's really, really hard training turns in that circumstance. Not making excuses, just saying it is difficult. We'll get around it, we'll get there eventually. We're trying our best, I do seesaw pretty much every day. Only like 5 or 6 in the garden just to keep him in there. And he's fine doing turns off it there, obviously, but it's these things we need to practice in competition, and it's such a long process. It takes so long. It's, it's quite dubious. I was going to say my self-esteem, but not really self-esteem. You sort of, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it is self-esteem. You just feel a bit, oh God, here we go. Not doing very well at the moment, am I? Do you know what I mean? Like, it just puts you in a bit of a down mood, but fighting through that, thinking this will help us in the long term. I'm just going to see how it goes, give him some time. But I do think, I enjoy running him more like that. I don't like running safe. It's not as fun. So that's one reason that I'm doing it as well. And another one is he responds so much better to it in general. He loves it. Our runs are more smooth flowing, stuff like that. There's just those little blips in there, those gaps where I haven't quite sort of proofed that in competition yet. So that's what I'm starting to do. And I think that is everything from the weekly recap. Yeah, so that's everything. Good times. Anyway, all positive really. Even the negatives can turn into a positive. Always managed to do that in the end. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get straight into the conversation with Nicola, and I hope you enjoy it.
So, just in case anyone doesn't know who you are, but I'm sure everyone does, do you want to just give a brief introduction of yourself, your dogs, and your life in agility?
So I'm Nicola Wildman. I've been doing agility now for 27 years. I have 2 dogs that I currently run, which is Zest and Panache. They're both border collies. Zest won the championship at Crufts in 2022 and the singles at Crufts in 2023. Panache is my younger dog, my run-by boy. He is 3 now. He won the novice at Crufts in 2022, and just yesterday he qualified for the agility stakes, formerly was Olympia. And so he's trailblazing, bless him. He's doing great, progressing how I like young dogs too. I from a sort of job perspective, I guess, though it's not really a job. I run Wild Paws Agility, which is the biggest subscription weekly class provider in the country. So we provide in-person agility training on a weekly basis, and sort of 1-hour classes in a group of 6 people. So we're doing that, and me and my group of instructors deliver that, and we have an amazing Wild Paws family, and we're all really close, and that's lovely. So it's a job that's not really a job.
Yeah, doesn't feel like one.
Which is lovely. And I sometimes travel around the country doing seminars, but I'm doing a bit less of that, to be honest, and putting more time into developing the bonds that we have with all the students that we have locally.
Yeah, cool. How old's Panache now?
So Panache is 3.
Okay.
He will be 4 in February.
Oh, okay. Similar to Arrow then.
Yes.
Yeah. What about Zest? How old is he?
They're at that cool age.
Yes. What about Zest?
So Zest is 8 now. She'll be 9 in May. So she's got the England. She won the England Super Win on spot at CSJ to go there. So when she goes to the WAO for England this year, she'll be 9. So that's quite interesting in terms of the developments of the stuff that we kind of plan to talk about in this podcast was still preparing for big events, and I think there'll be quite a few changes in how I prepare for those events, bearing in mind her age versus maybe like if I was to prepare Panache for a big event.
Yeah, because it's dog dependent, isn't it? A lot of things. So
yeah, I think more age dependent in this case. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, very true. So the first question is, what are the different ways that you prepare your dog for an event? So very broad question, because I'm assuming there's quite a lot of ways, but...
Yeah. So maybe in terms of if I was putting it into categories, I guess maybe because if I go into everything, we could just be here for hours.
Yes.
So if I'm putting in terms of categories, then I guess I've got there's my mental preparation. And I think this is massively overlooked. There's the dog's mental preparation, which sounds weird. Like I don't sit there with a flip chart with my dogs, being like, right, this is point A, B. It's not like some kind of army briefing for them, but like mentally having them prepared for the event. There's them being physically prepared, so their physical preparations, so their fitness, proprioceptibilities, my own fitness, proprioceptibilities, and then obviously there's the agility side of that. There's my dog's skills and skill sets, and then there's my ability to course run and get them round a course. And I say that because I don't think that the dog's ability to get round a full 20 obstacles is really often improved by running them around 20 obstacles. But I think the handlers need that a lot more than the dogs need that.
Especially as far as a fitness aspect, like side of it goes. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people may get to like 15 and then be out of puff. Do you get what I mean? Like I think that's quite overlooked as well.
For me though, I think that fits more into handler fitness because I think and I suspect we'll come to this a little bit later because I've had some good preps, I've had some bad preps, I've had some good international events, I've had some bad international events, and I think I've learned from those experiences, and I think that was kind of some of the learning there. And then I guess as well as that, there's the more sort of formal planning and research side of it. There's like if we're talking about an international event or even a national event, you know, where am I staying? How am I eating? There's more like logistics side of things. And I guess if you're going away and competing internationally, then the logistics side of it is pretty huge. And I think people often forget that, and they're like, oh, and the amount of people that are panicking before they're going out is unbelievable. Like, oh my God, I've got to get our animal health certificates. And they gave us some information really late this year for the European Open, actually. And they were like, everyone needs to have their dogs vaccinated with the three vaccines. And like, they gave us like 24 hours in order to be able to have this done ready for the event. Thankfully mine were teeter tested, and I had the proof for the teeter tests, but that had to have been done in the last 4 years as well. And it's just like when spanners like that get thrown in the works, it's like, did you have everything else ready, or were you waiting for kind of lastminute.com and then someone else throws one thing in the works, and that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, because sometimes the events aren't as organised as maybe people think they might be. Yeah,
that's it. And it's especially hard when you're sort of ready to do all the prep, but then the event hasn't given you the information you need to do that. I think that happened to me one of the years I was on the YKCGB team, and it was around Brexit time, and there was all that with dogs needing, like, there were new, laws for dogs coming in and out of countries, and, we didn't know what was going on until last minute, and then, we needed vaccinations, and I think it was a blood test to make sure they had enough antibodies or whatever.
Yes.
And then if they didn't, they'd need the vaccination, but it was all so last minute and it was so stressful. But luckily Ethel did have enough antibodies in her system, but that could have really caught us out,
It's hard. I remember that year too. That was a nightmare.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you probably had a similar thing for seniors if you were on that year, didn't you?
Yeah. I remember that year and having to have all the rabies vaccine, and you had to wait X amount of time. Then you had to have an antibody check. The antibodies weren't enough, and you had to have another rabies. I mean, thankfully for me as well, Zest blood tested, and her previous rabies vaccine had held, and she had enough antibodies in her system.
Yeah, same with Ethel. It was stressful. And then obviously the next question was, what are the different ways that you prepare yourself for an event? So, I suppose the difference between the dog prep and your prep. But you said how, there's physical and mental side to both, not just, it's not just the dog, it's a lot of you as well.
Yeah, I think often it's just making sure that you and the dog peak at the right time. And I think actually the methods to do that are fairly similar, because of course from a physical perspective, so either a dog or me, muscle building or reaching peak, which is kind of, what we're doing with Zest at the moment, Ready for Worlds, you have to stress those, this probably isn't the right terminology, but you have to stress those muscle fibers in order to create micro tears and then to be able to build muscle again. But what you don't want to be doing is then running the dog at full pelt while they're repairing those little micro tears. So that can be a really that can be quite a challenging programming issue in terms of building muscle and things like that. So for me, I'd rather do the muscle building in both myself and my dogs earlier, but then also come in and into the program a bit later. So you've created the micro tears through building muscles. So for example, like I was at the gym today, and I did some squats, and I'm working quite close to my limit. I'm going to end up with some micro tears in the muscle, which is good because I need that to then rebuild the muscle back stronger.
Yeah.
But the challenge then is doing the sport specific stuff at the same time.
About, working the dog's muscles and building dog muscle and stuff like that. Someone did ask, do you use therapeutic products such as Back on Track in the build up to events?
Yeah, so I thought this was really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
And, some people will know, some people won't. But, I'm sponsored by Karma Fitness for my personal fitness stuff with Chris Curtin.
Yes.
And I think something he said to me in the early stages actually was really useful, because I was sort of getting intrigued by it, and I was like, oh, what about this supplement? What about that? And what about this? And what about that? And he's like, right, whoa, just stop there. I was like, right, okay. He says, are you getting enough sleep?
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I'm getting like 5.5 hours. And he was like, right, until you're getting 8 hours of sleep, like, stop bothering with all that other stuff, thinking about all these bloody sexy supplements and things like that. He said, none of those will get you as many gains as 8 hours sleep will.
Yeah, that's true.
I do the same thing with my colleagues. I'm like, okay, you need structured rest. And I don't mean like rest time in the van while I'm traveling around the country. What I mean is you need to be settled at home in a bed, have a chill day. So quite often I'll leave my dogs at home with Mark. He works from home. He's being quite boring in the office, not with the humans hustling and bustling around the house. Like, they should be getting like 18 hours of sleep a day.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of that. So I do use some of those products. But I think until you're doing the basics well, like a proper warm up and cool down, like there's absolutely no point in having, so Back on Track's the one used, and it's probably because people have seen my dogs in Back on Track coats.
Yeah, probably.
Now, I do use them, and part of the reason that I use them is because I think it slightly prolongs my dog's warm up. So, if there's a delay between me warming my dog up and me running my dog, and sometimes, things go wrong, the timers break. The judge needs to go for a pee. Any of those things that happen, I want to be able to keep my dog warm without necessarily knackering them out. But if you're not doing a good warm up to start with, and you just want to slap a Back on Track coat on, like, that's not going to work. That's true. Like me, trying to hammer the gym every day, but I'm getting 3 hours sleep at night. It's not going to have the desired effect. So like with Chris and my physical fitness, it was like, right, what are we eating? Are we getting enough protein in there? And same with my dogs. I've been down a bit of a road with Panache recently, actually, with his nutrition, and he was eating sort of, almost double what he should have been eating, but he wasn't getting any of the nutrition from it. Now, he's fed the absolute flipping best food, like the Nature's Menu, another sponsor shout out. The Nature's Menu food that he's given is incredible quality. Like, the pictures from their factory of all the food before it goes into it is just amazing. But he wasn't getting any of that nutrition, and just a simple addition of a pre and probiotic, he's chucked on 4 kilos in 6 weeks. 4 kilos in 6 weeks, and he's now having his food cut back. It just shows how much importance you need to place on the core things of sleep, nutrition, before you start going into sexy stuff. So I use Back on Track jackets because I think they're a nice lightweight jacket, actually, and I haven't found anything else that covers all the rear leg muscles as well as the Back on Track jackets do, and the neck area. I just haven't found anything with the same amount of coverage, and they do feel nice and warm. Like when I slip my hand underneath them,
you can tell.
Are they feeling warm? But I think it's just a little step up from having another jacket with the same amount of coverage.
It's more of an aid than, like, it's not something that you rely on. It's just, it helps. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of an extra.
I do supplement. I've recently bought a biomag. It's because although there's no actual scientific data that supports them, for me, a lot of physical therapists that I know that, are treating before and after using them, and say that it really does aid with recovery. And I thought, well, do you know what, actually, and I sometimes I've started using it on my shoulder. So, and it just even if it doesn't work because there's no papers that say it works, and I get that. But even if it just makes me feel a little bit better, then, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, every little helps.
So I do use some things for sure, but I think getting the core things right is way, way more important than any of the sexy marketing stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I guess that's where I stand on sexy products.
Yeah, makes sense.
Until you've got all the core stuff right, don't bother.
Yeah, that's really interesting what you said though about not putting, the dog not putting on weight. Do you know what I mean? Because Arrow, he eats like lots of his raw food. He has plenty of food, but he's just like, he's so skinny, and I think it's because he's always moving as well. He's always burning it off. But, he does sleep, but he's just one of those dogs that's just so wired. Do you know what I mean? He's always like buzzing about and stuff like that. So it makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really like mine to have an off switch, and I will train an off switch if there isn't one inbuilt in there. I'm quite lucky. Panache came with a lovely off switch. He has a lovely on off switch. It's wonderful. But for some dogs, I think you need to train them an off switch. And I think
definitely.
Like that is just super important for them to get proper rest.
Yeah.
Proper sort of structured rest, particularly before a big event or something like that.
I mean, it's so similar, isn't it? Like to us going to the gym, like you need your rest days to repair the muscles, and I think people don't realise it's exactly the same for dogs. Like they still have all the muscles and all the same features as we do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, biology rules still apply.
Oh yeah,
We're all still
exactly.
mammals.
Yeah, that's it.
Biology rules still apply. They didn't. They didn't skip a species.
Exactly.
Whilst they were doing this, so yeah,
it all makes sense. So, do you train more frequently than usual in the build-up to an event? So, by train, I'm assuming this person means like agility. So, agility classes, course running, anything to do with agility equipment.
So, probably less, actually.
Okay.
So, I probably train less. So, I guess it depends on what they're thinking about close. So, if they're thinking about in the month before, so let's say we're thinking about now for Worlds, less.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to increase the risk of injury in my dog's prize to this event, because the closer I get to the event, the less chance that I would have to repair things if there were anything that was to go wrong in training. Even just a minor thing, like a really, really minor thing, can at this stage have a huge impact on the training. So if I'm thinking about sort of a 3-month program, then actually the training will probably be more, let's say 4 months. Like, the first month might be targeted heavily on the physical stuff. So me and the dogs building muscle, preparing our bodies to do everything they need to do. Then we might be going more into technique sort of in the second month. So second month might be more, okay, this judge really likes to test off-end tunnels, or this judge really likes to test tight running contact exits.
And that comes from your own research into the actual judges as well. Do you get what I mean? So that I suppose that's part of your prep, looking at judges and courses that they've done.
I think that comes into one of the later questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think course analysis is in one of them. Yeah.
So do the sort of technique work there.
Yeah.
And then sort of in the following 2 months, I'm sort of focusing on course running, but the training load actually is probably decreased. So month on month, so say we've got a 4-month lead up, then, month 1, muscle building, month 2, skills building, months 3 and 4 are then going to be focused on the course running, mostly to get us sharp, to figure out if there are any problems. So I'm hoping, in month 3, I've figured out any skills holes for my dogs, and I've fixed them during that month. And then month 4 is just like polishing.
Yeah, a little bit.
We're just polishing this up a little bit now. We're just getting it slick.
Yeah, not risking too much.
We shouldn't hopefully be finding any more skills holes at that point.
Yeah.
Or if we are, there's stuff we're aware of and we've gone, okay, I'm going to live with that, because you're not going to fix every skill issue before you go out to an event. It's more having an awareness of, I might need to choose a different handling option.
Yeah, go a bit safer.
My dog is weak at that skill.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So do you taper yourself or your dog in the build up to an event, and why or why not? So taper, I guess rest for a few weeks leading up, like complete rest, doing nothing, I'm guessing that means.
So maybe, So that's a different understanding than I have of tapering. So yes, I definitely do taper.
Yes.
No doubt. So for me, that involves a gradual reduction.
Yeah, tapering off. Yeah.
Of the activity. So we're sort of talking about month 4 here. So so we're what now? We're like 2 weeks away from Worlds, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think so.
In 19 days, something like that. So in sort of a week's time or so, I'll be starting to taper down the activity, particularly any physical stuff. So, like if you were doing downs to stands with your dog or whatever, at that point, I'd be like, okay, it's time to stop that. Because we've built everything that we're going to build. Like I'm probably not going to be doing huge sessions in the gym or anything then. So that's when we begin. And again, it's about injury reduction, so try and reduce the chance of injury by not overloading any muscles at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess then I'm focusing a little bit more on the mental side of things. Have I sort of visualized like the Worlds, because it's coming up, I know what this arena looks like. The Worlds have been held there before. I haven't been there before. I've never been to Worlds. It's my first year at Worlds. Obviously with the introduction of the intermediate height category.
Yes, true.
That's massively sort of helped me and Zest out, because she's not the best jumping dog, and jumping her over large was really difficult for her. So she's first year that I've been to Worlds, because my dog that I ran before Zest was a Kelpie, which isn't a recognised breed over here.
They have to be purebred, don't they?
They have to be pedigree, but not that. They have to be pedigree registered in the country of origin. So for us in the UK, Kelpies can compete at Worlds, but they can't compete at Worlds from the UK.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
because
such a
they're
pain.
not a registered breed over here, so they have to be a registered breed with the kennel club that you are part of. See, now I've lost my train of thought. I was like,
Kelpies.
So I was doing that and prepping for Worlds. So I'm gradually tapering it off into more mental prep, so I know what the arena looks like. It's been held there before, so I can watch some videos and things, get a rough idea of the layout, do as much sort of research as I can before I go, and I'll do a venue scout. I'll go and have a nosy and see what's about in the days before the event.
Because there's nothing worse than getting to a venue and thinking, where is anything?
The big thing is, where is the toilet?
It's always the first thing, isn't it?
You can guarantee you will need a nervous wee before you run.
Literally.
That is an absolute given. So
and then you need another one 5 minutes later, and you'll be like,
exactly.
Every time.
When I know where the 3 toilets are, and particularly the ones that no one else has found,
that
is
no queue.
Key.
Yeah, that's perfect.
At the crosswalk when everyone wants to go for a wee.
Yes.
And you're running number 3.
Oh, God. Stress.
Yeah, I know. So there's that side of things, and reducing down the course running. So generally I'll run the hardest courses. So I'm starting to pick easier courses from the judges. I'm focused specifically on the judges that I'm running, and I know who's judging which classes as well.
Yes.
So I know the 2 judges that are judging agility, I know the 2 judges that are judging jumping. So I'm getting very specific and only running jumping courses from some judges and agility courses from others, because otherwise it's pointless.
That's true.
It's a waste of my time to prep for a dog walk exit with a judge I'm going to see in jumping. So
that's very true. Maybe more of a weave entry.
Definite tapering for me. I think it's really important. Some dogs do better without a full taper, like they need to do something. But I think you should always be careful with that, to not sort of over, if you're going to do a session, just take them down and do quite an easy session with them, just to give them enough, or do a bit of scent work or something else with them to work their brains so that they're not giddy.
That's what I was going to say with Arrow. I think if I gave him a few weeks off doing things like that, he would come to the event and then be like, oh my God, it's so exciting, I haven't done it for so long. So it's a fine line, isn't it? Again, knowing your own dog and how they respond, I guess, always helps.
Yeah, your taper's only to get to physical peak, though. So you wouldn't need multiple weeks unless you had an injury. You wouldn't need multiple weeks in order to rest completely. So if you think think the hardest gym session of your life, or the time you've woken up with the worst aching muscles.
Yes.
And how long that took to recover. Like, for me, that plus a couple of days is your ideal tapering period.
Yeah.
Because what you're trying to do is make sure that your body and the dog's body is firing on all cylinders, absolute maximum, ready to go. So it's enough rest to ensure that any micro tears or anything which may have been created by any kind of training are all fully recovered, so that when you and the dog step on the start line, you're not leading out.
Yes.
You or the dog and thinking, oh, I'm just a little bit stiff behind my knee, whatever.
That's happened to me so many times where I've gone to a competition and still been sore from like 2 days ago at the gym. And it's just so much harder. Like, it's like the difference between making a blind or not making a blind, like stuff like that. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly that.
So for the taper, then you kind of more or less you like start with physical stuff and then kind of taper off and do more mental stuff towards the end while you're doing physically less, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, okay.
100%. And I'm tending to up any kind of mobility exercises as well. So for me, I might be doing some yoga or like very, very lightweight mobility stuff. And my dogs would move away from doing kind of muscle building exercises, and they might move to doing a lot more proprioception in the later stages. So like, stepping over poles and different surfaces and things like that, because that's not stressing their muscles, but it's keeping all of those sort of neurons firing that make sure that when they step on that line, hopefully they don't touch that pole.
Definitely.
Or, they've got everything is bang and tune. So you don't want to do nothing, like absolutely nothing either, because then your eye gets stiff, and then I feel like my body doesn't work properly.
Definitely, with poles then, that was interesting. You said, so do you reckon in dogs that knock poles a lot, sort of doing the proprioception work away from agility can help them, just pick, when people say, oh, pick your feet up, do you know what I mean? Do you think that can help the dog, sort of be more aware of the pole and not rushing it, if that makes sense? Kind of going off a bit there, but...
Yeah, I think it does. I think with polls, it's always hard, and it's also quite a controversial topic.
Yeah.
Do we poll response cost or not poll response cost? That's like a whole
new topic. Definitely. Just give me an idea there.
I think proprioception is just understanding where your body is in space. And it's the same for humans and dogs. Like, could I reach behind me and pick up whatever is on there? Without looking? Do I understand how close I am to that bookshelf behind me? Yes or no? And with the dogs, if they understand exactly where all their feet are, how deep their chest is, how good reach they have in their legs, then definitely that will help them to understand how to use their body in space. And I think with Panache, actually, as part of his kind of recovery journey from the nutrition side of things, obviously there were side effects clearly to him not getting that nutrition, as there would be any human. So we've done a lot of proprioceptive work with him, actually, because I don't think he necessarily trusts his proproprioception. So I think he has an understanding, and we've always done quite a bit of work on it, but I don't think he trusted where he was placing his feet necessarily. And I think that had a big impact on his running dog walk. In particular, because of the width of the plank, the speed at which they have to do it at, the cost if they get it wrong.
No, that's true.
I think is a huge thing. So actually what I'm seeing when he's coming back now is I'm doing a lot of work on him trusting where his feet are without him looking. Because like when we started kind of this recovery journey, he would just fucking look down at the floor to step off an object. And I'm like, whoa, okay. And he couldn't do it without looking down at the ground and checking the ground was there first. Clearly that's a problem with a running dog walk. If you're looking down and you're having to check exactly where that plank is, and I'm asking you to do things out in front, and I'm saying, oh, by the way, I need you to do that obstacle discrimination out in front, please. There's 3 obstacles to pick from.
So that's not even a training issue as such. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could teach the best running dog walk ever, but if they've got that issue, then they're probably not going to show it.
And I trust me, I tried. Trust me, I tried, and it wasn't working. I think it does. I think as well, having the muscle ability, and a big thing I think is warm up. I don't think people warm their dogs up enough.
No, definitely.
And then if the dog has poles, well, if it flicks its back legs out ready to jump and it feels a little twinge because it's not, that part of its body is not warmed up properly, then I think that pole's coming down.
What kind of warm-ups do you do with your dogs then, just briefly?
So for me, it's just getting the blood moving and then working through some similar movements. So, working through a walk, have a sniff, toilet, then upping it, light jog, to sort of doing more of a kind of, I guess, a canter, and working through those, and then doing some sort of backing up. Any movement I can do that replicates but with less impact, the agility. So like, sort of backing up, or it might be then sprinting forwards, circling around me, doing figures of eights, a good replication.
Yeah, leg weaves is a good one,
Lots of things like that, just asking them to go from a sit and then putting their front feet up on me to replicate that push off the ground. There's loads of really good exercises out there, but what you want to try and make sure before you step to the line is that firstly there's plenty of blood in all the muscles, they're plenty warm enough, so they've got that good elasticity, and then making sure as well then that each of those body parts has been through the ranges of motion that you're going to expect the dog to utilize on course. Again, we don't want it to reach near an end range of motion and the dog go, ooh, like that I haven't moved that bit in a while. Like we want to make sure they've used all those ranges of motion during warm-up, so that then when they come to use them in the competition, they've already done it. Their body's already prepared. Their body's like, yeah, I got this. We already did this bit in warm-up. So, for me, it's about that.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It will take me about 15 minutes to warm my dogs up after they finish toileting and things.
Yeah, and then cool down, I'm assuming, is the same, but the other way round. Getting, getting slower.
With stretches, lots of stretches and things. So we're making sure that those muscles then remain nice and elastic. Ready for the next run or the next training session or the next weekend.
Yeah, I think I saw a video on the videos folder that you made actually of you doing some. I think one of your dogs was on the little paw pods, doing some stuff on those.
Oh yeah. That's Zest working on her. I think Rona called it isometric work, but someone will call me out on this and like, that's not isometric. I don't know. I have experts that tell me what to do because I can't possibly hold all that knowledge. But we were basically working on muscle building in her right fore because she had some twinges in there that kept kind of annoyingly coming back. So that's why people were like, oh my God, were you ill? Well, you've been away from agility because I didn't come in for a couple of months. And I was like, actually, it wasn't to do with me at all. It just coincidentally happened that we discovered the nutrition thing with Panache. I was working on Zest. She had a little bit of lack of muscle in the right fore. So we're building. So working on that forward stretching and her loading the other leg and stabilizing while she was doing it.
Is that what you mean when you say like at rehab, with both dogs, like bringing them back from those sort of issues that they had? It's just taking some time out, making sure you're doing some really specific stuff, not just. I think the classic vet thing of metacam and rest, it drives me absolutely nuts. And I did a talk, Rona actually, who is a rehab vet specialist. She's very, very amazing, by the way. Huge shout out to her because she's just an absolute friggin' saviour. I don't know what I would do without her, alongside, the rest of the team that look after my dogs. But I think I was talking, like she asked me to do a talk to her. She owns a big practice, Donaldson's Vets, and there's multiple branches of this, and she invites other independent practices in. And I did a talk to 40 vets. Oh, wow. I think I saw that actually on the page,
Yeah, and some of the other sort of practitioners, the nurses and things within the practice, and was kind of saying that, I have never had an injury. I'm not saying there isn't injuries out there where metacam and rest is the right path, because for some it is, but it's always the automatic path rather than referring to a specialist. And often actually, if I say, my dog's displaying something weird, I'm going to crate rest it. And, then I go to see Rona and she's like, absolutely don't do that. You need to take this dog for 5 walks a day for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's not really fixing the issue, is it? Just doing that. You need to sort of go into it a bit deeper.
But it might fix the peripheral problem of, my dog's got a sore muscle, but there's probably a root cause in there that you haven't got to, and it's going to keep coming back time and time again.
Yeah, that's it, definitely. I mean, obviously Arrow has physio every now and again. I mean, it's not cheap, but we give it to him because it's important. But it is interesting, how as well, like if he's got a little tweak in, say, his left shoulder, it can affect like his right back end. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff like that, it can cause imbalances. So it's one tiny little issue that needs fixing that could just cause a whole range of problems that, you know, could be affecting him on the course. So it is crazy. But you would never know without that person doing that. Do you get what I mean? Like, you would never know that.
Yeah, it has to get to quite an extreme stage, I think, before you recognise that knowledge is there. So, like, you know, in Leave to Worlds, like Zest is having regular massages with Jan, who sponsors us from Lucky Dog Massage. She's very good because she's going to spot anything. If a muscle's coming back and each time she's putting her hands on them, that muscle is repeatedly just a little bit tight. Then, you know, there's something in there that needs addressing. You know, there'll always be a little bit of tightness here and there, and you'll know that. You go to the gym, you get tightnesses here, tightnesses there, and
nothing major, but always something.
People tend to freak out when they go, oh, there's a little bit of a tight muscle there. It's like, hold on, when did you wake up and roll out of bed feeling all hunky-dory and
that would be a bit concerning in itself. You'd be like, have I not done anything for a week?
You'd be like, was I in a coma for what happened?
That'd be worse.
Exactly.
That makes sense. So what stage of Agility World Championship preparation are you currently in, and how is it going? So you said, 19 days odd now? So what stage would you kind of class that as for Agility World Champs?
World prep has not been how I would have wanted it to be, how I planned it out in an ideal blue sky thinking world. Because of this thing I'm talking about with the right shoulder. However, actually, I think it's kind of worked out in quite a nice way. Zest is quite mature, you know, she's 8. It's not like if I was taking Panache to Worlds.
True.
So if I was taking my younger dog to Worlds with me, I'd be like, we need to be doing a reasonable amount of course running here because we don't know each other that well. Like in the grand scheme of things, to
that makes
get around those level of courses with the level of accuracy required, particularly for the team runs where, you know, the accuracy is super important.
Definitely.
With him, I would want to be doing a lot more sequences, a lot more skills. But Zest already knows her job. Like, she's 8, she's been around the block a few times. She's, you know, sort of very at her mental peak in terms of agility. She knows what she's doing. So I'm a bit less worried about skill sets and things with her. But the physical side is all coming together nicely. Actually, so I'm really happy now with where she's at physically, because that was a little bit of a panic with the shoulder, and I was like, right, okay, we've got to get this bang on. But I'm really happy. She ran yesterday at the Agility States quarters, and she looked amazing. She just had a pole down of a last straight. To do with her eyes, from going from a 4-foot wide wall to a 6-foot wide pole.
That's true. Like,
it's hard, it really does luck with them, and the stride was big, so she did a 2-stride, and they went, the gap can't be any bigger than 2 strides.
Oh, bless her.
And sort of took off.
She tried.
She looked really powerful around the course. So I would like to have started course running a little bit sooner than I have, but I'm actually really happy with the stage that we're at. So we're going to do some more courses now. We're going to start moving on to some jumping courses. So I've got 5 sessions left now before Worlds. I like to really restrict my sessions down, because I think that the biggest kiss of death in dog training is I'll just do one more.
Absolutely.
It is the kiss of death to a training session.
Or wanting to end on a good one.
It's going to go tits up.
Or like needing to end on the best one.
I restrict myself to the session. And, you know, I had a session on Tuesday, and I had a course up. And you know what, Zest just couldn't get ahead over this little bit of this course. Like, she just couldn't. It just mashed her brain. And then she turned into a dog that looked like it never done agility before. And people, I don't often see people, and they'll just keep banging their head against the brick wall. And I'm like, hey, just put it down. Let's just end the training session. And you know what? She came back the next session, same judge, slightly different course, and it was really good. But you could take your dog to the point of injury, just keep doing just one more, just one more, just one more. Just get that bit right. And I was like, her brain's
There's
gone.
no point,
I'm experienced enough now to realise that it would be stupid for me to continue. Like, in doing that session. She came back the next session, and now she's running brilliantly. I feel like if I'd have continued to plug the issue with her and be like, no, well, you have to get this right.
I think that happens in competition as well. Like, I've had it before where, you know, one thing's gone wrong and then something else gone wrong, and then he can't get this certain bit. Do you know what I mean? But I know he can do it, but he's just not getting it. So that's when I've left the ring before, because I thought, he's gone. He's not, do you know what I mean? I'm not getting his head back now for the rest of it. And that, you know, one, it'd be frustrating. Two, he could hurt himself. Do you know what I mean? And you kind of have to know when to just think, okay, let's take him back, go to the next one in an hour, you know, and he'll hopefully have sorted himself out. But
yeah, I think it comes from them losing confidence.
Yeah.
So I think, and dogs like Zest, for example, with Panache, it's much easier to see if he loses confidence, which actually for a dog trainer is easier feedback to take, because you can physically see it.
Yeah.
Whereas with Zest, it's more masked in chaos.
Okay.
Because she'll go and, oh, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? Do you
Yeah.
want this? I'll take this, I'll take this, I'll take this. But that still is a lack of confidence in the dog, just now like extinction bursting.
Yes.
They're like, hey, you don't want this one, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And if you keep doing it, they're going to get more frantic, and they're going to do that until they just get to the point where they just lie there and go,
I give up. Yeah.
I'm done. And I'm like, I don't want to get to that stage with my dogs.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It was interesting what you said about Zest sort of peaking mentally, if that makes sense. When do you think, is there a certain age you reckon dogs sort of peak physically and then mentally, if that makes sense? Or is it completely dependent?
I think it's a really interesting discussion topic, because I think experienced people obviously aren't. So as a handler, although I have learning to do with every dog, I already understand how to do a front cross. So that does differ massively. You know, with Zest and Panache, my front crosses look different because they are very different creatures, even though they're the same breed. Their build and how they move is very, very different. And the time in which they need the information is very different. So, I think they've got a physical peak. And, well, you know, normally I would say, well, you know, a dog peaks physically if you're doing all the conditioning work and things about 3, 4, but you know, Panache is 3 now. But because of this nutrition thing that we hadn't figured out, he's likely to reach his physical peak around 4.5, 5.
No, that's true.
Boys, I think, there's no scientific backup for this, by the way. I think boys peak later than girls physically, which of course is the flip reverse to humans, because human physical peak for men is supposedly around 19, 20, whereas for women it's about 30. But like for me, for example, I'm a lot fitter now. I'm 30 than when I was 20, and I think I'll be a lot fitter at 40 than I am now at 30. So I think it depends on how you load your schedule as well. But I think the real sweet spot for a dog is where those two cross over. So the mental peak, so them understanding and having the experience to read courses, to read me. It's at that stage where you think, can this dog read my mind? And really, actually, it's just the slight shoulder tweaks, and they've just become very tuned into you. I think the point where those two cross, so your physical peak, you know, their physical peak is going to come before their mental peak in 99% of cases, I would say, is, you know, goes up and then is tailing off inevitably because age. And then their experience peak is doing this. And at the point where those two cross and meet is your sweet spot. So I think Zest is kind of, mine tend to peak later because they don't rush them. I'm not in any rush with my dogs. Zest, Zoom, my previous dog, so she was a Kelpie, ran a medium. She retired at Crufts at 12 years old.
Oh, wow. So,
you know, at 12, she still had qualified for Crufts. She was running there. She was doing really well. And she retired absolutely physically sound. She passed away of a kidney issue and was still physically sound at that point. And I love that. I love that for my dogs, for them to live a really long, happy retirement where they're still extremely physically sound. And I think they can, if you're sensible with them, and I wait. So I sacrifice. I don't tend to do obstacles with my dogs very early. And I'm going to wait even longer with my next dog. Actually, I've kind of made that call already. And I'm not going to bring them out at 18 months doing agility courses. I've made that decision. You know, because I think that sacrifice of a year or 6 months at the beginning of their career, I think can give them 1 or 2 years minimum at the end of their career And that's certainly what I've observed in my dogs. And that's not, again, there's no scientific studies out of that. That's just anecdotal stuff that I think I've seen in other dogs. So that's just my personal opinion on it. So when people are like, oh, you know, my 3-year-old's doing this, I'm like, okay. You know, I'm happy when my 10-year-old is still going out and being competitive.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Zest because of her eyes. You know, they're sort of a ticking time bomb, bless her. But she's doing well with it. So while she's still happy and she's not doing herself a mischief or anything, I'm happy for her to keep going.
What is it with her eyes again?
So I think, well, there's two things. One of which I know, and one of which I suspect, and everything I suspect supports this. So she, in her brown eyes, so she has different coloured eyes, which is absolutely nothing to do with this, by the way. So in her brown eye, at some point during her earlier years, she's had some issues with the ligaments that cause the pupil dilation. So, you know, at some point, maybe she's run into something. You know, what border collie puppies are like.
Yes.
Or, you know, young dogs, and she was a particularly nuts one. And there's been some damage to the ligaments around the eyes, so the pupil doesn't dilate in her brown eye as fast as in her blue eye. So, for example, if she were to come out of a dark tunnel into bright sunlight, then this pupil would not dilate as quickly as the other. So that I know. I've been to a ophthalmologist. Is it an ophthalmologist?